We know CBS News senior national security contributor Michael Morell for his more than 30 years at the CIA, where he served as both deputy director and acting director. But did you know that he is also a podcast host? Very good one, too. It's called Intelligence Matters. Morell talks to leading voices in national security and foreign policy. They tackle issues like counterterrorism, cybersecurity, and negotiating with adversaries, and what lessons these experts learn through their careers.
The first episode of the new season is out today. It features Morell's conversation with Michael Hayden, former director of both the CIA and National Security Agency. The podcast is produced by CBS News and was initially done in partnership with the Cipher Brief website. Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
So on the podcast, you get to tell all the secrets you couldn't tell when you were in the CIA. Is that what we get to tune in?
Right.
What are you hoping to achieve with the podcast?
So what we want to do is have a place where you can have a discussion about national security issues where there are no politics. You know, it used to be true that politics ended at the nation's shores, that politics didn't get involved in national security issues. That's not true anymore. So we want to have a place where we can talk about those issues. That's where there are different views, but people aren't scoring political points.
This is a slightly abstract question, but it's something we deal with in the press, too, which is there is intelligence that you can get wrong in good faith, and that's part of the job. And then there is the history in the intelligence agencies where sometimes people cooked things and where politicians took the information and cooked it. Is that one of the goals here, to try to put things in their different categories so people understand the difference between a mistake made in good faith and something that was said that wasn't true?
Exactly, and I'll give you a great example. There is a misperception, right, that the Bush administration politicized the judgments about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. Just not true. The CIA and the intelligence community believed that even before President Bush came to office. We were telling President Clinton that. So that's a great example.
And you had a fascinating conversation with Michael Hayden, who was on this show this week, about Gina Haspel, right, and the controversy surrounding her nomination to be CIA director. And you raised a question about whether or not there was a double standard going on with regards to her nomination. Talk about that.
What I meant by that is that, you know, there were hundreds of CIA officers who were involved in this program. And they were all told that told accurately that President Bush directed it, the National Security Team approved it.
The Enhanced Interrogation Program.
The Enhanced Interrogation Program.
Also known as torture.
Also known to some people as torture, right? That the Department of Justice said it was legal, that it was not torture, and that Congress was briefed. Those officers were told that. Then the politics shifts. Right? And all of a sudden it becomes something we shouldn't have done. Should those officers who worked in that program be held accountable for something that the leadership of the country made the decision to do? And the double standard comes in the following sense. The Senate confirmed John Brennan, who was the number 4 in the CIA when the program was conceived and approved. Now, he wasn't in the chain of command, but he was the number 4. And he opposed the program, and he spoke up at the time, but he still was in the chain of command. He was confirmed. The military had its own enhanced interrogation program after 9/11. We never talk about the military officers who were involved in it and whether that should be part of their confirmation hearing or not.
Well, both of you worked with Gina Haspel at the CIA, and Michael Hayden says this: her track record is honesty, candor, and courage. Yet it doesn't appear she's going to have an easy time of it when her confirmation hearings begin.
So people have two questions, right? They have this question about, should somebody who was involved in the program lead the CIA? And your
answer is yes.
My answer is yes.
For her?
My answer is yes, in part because she went through it. She went through it once, right? And because of that, she'll make sure that the agency never does that again. And if the agency's ever asked to do anything that she's uncomfortable with, she will say no, because that courage is in her DNA as a CIA officer.
Is that the larger question, though, is when does act of conscience, even when you've been ordered to do something, I mean, this has been a long time debate in these kinds of jobs, that act, you should take an act of conscience if you believe something you've been ordered to do is wrong?
And I think that's one of the questions she's going to have to answer at her confirmation hearing. It's a fair question.
And it was interesting that Michael Hayden said if she had been appointed by President Obama, she would have gotten through. So politics does have a place here. Quickly, let me ask you your thoughts on what was presented by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the findings they made in Iran's nuclear program. What did you make of it?
So first, there's nothing new here. In 2007, 11 years ago, the intelligence community told the White House and Congress that Iran had a secret nuclear weapons program prior to 2003, that it stopped in 2003. So there's nothing new here in terms of the big picture. There may be details here, and the intelligence community is going to have to figure that out, that help our understanding of what they were doing at the time. That may be the case. What really happened here was an Israeli prime minister who was trying to influence an American president and an American public to be more supportive of an American president who's about ready to pull out of the Iran nuclear
You think
deal.
he was successful?
I think President Trump was headed in that direction. In any case, we'll see about the public reaction.
He did deliver in English over Hebrew.
He sure did.
Michael Morell, great to have you on, and I love the podcast.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
being back.
Thanks.
The latest episode of Intelligence Matters is available now on major podcasting platforms. New episodes will be released weekly.